For 30 years, I avoided Resident Evil. I thought it would be clunky, slow, and overrated, and I was wrong. This game might have just made me into a Resident Evil fan. I haven't played many horror games. Outside of The Evil Within and Dead Space, I've mostly stayed away. And to be 100% honest with you, it's because I'm a coward. But with the original Resident Evil turning 30 years old this month, I figured it was time to put on some adult-sized diapers and see what all the fuss is about. I mean, this single game went on to become a franchise that is so large that it would take me another 30 years just to complete them all. So let me know in the comments below which Resident Evil should I play next, because my journey into this franchise has only just begun. And without any further delays, let's step into the mansion. Surprisingly, the real main character of Resident Evil isn't Chris or Jill. It's the mansion. From the moment the doors shut, this game doesn't feel like a zombie shooter, it feels more like one big puzzle box. Every hallway connects to something, every door becomes a future objective, and every shortcut you unlocked feels earned. At first, it's pretty confusing. The map feels like a maze. You're backtracking constantly, trying to desperately remember which door this key belongs to. But then something strange happens. You just start memorizing it. You remember the easiest path back to the save rooms. You remember which corridor has the dogs. And you always remember which corridor you left that zombie in. And suddenly, the mansion isn't this overwhelming labyrinth. It's more like a playground you're slowly conquering. And just when you think you have everything figured out, the game throws new locations at you like the underground and laboratory. It sort of reminds me of my ex. Just when I thought we had everything figured out, but you know, future kids, future house, she left me. What did I do wrong, Jessica? Please, what did I do wrong? Slowly unlocking every door in the house to reveal its secrets was extremely satisfying. Seeing the rooms on the map change colour when fully looted was such a subtle, genius design choice. It was so subtle that I didn't even notice that it was a gameplay mechanic until I was like 50% through the game. Modern games give you glowing objectives and map markers or bright yellow paint screaming out to you, "Hey, you, come over here!" But in Resident Evil, all you get is a map and you must figure out the rest yourself. Progressing through the mansion makes you feel smart. There were moments where I'd solve a puzzle on the first try, or pick up a new key item and instantly remember which door it belongs to, that even if I'd seen it hours ago. That feeling of the game trusting you to remember these details is extremely satisfying. And back in 1996, there weren't guides just a click away, no YouTube walkthroughs, no Reddit threads telling you what to do next. The design of the game had to walk that perfect line. Challenging enough that you couldn't just breeze your way through it, but clear enough that you were never completely lost. And somehow it nails that balance. And I can just imagine back in the day, little Jimmy asking little Brian on the playground how to kill Lisa Trevor. Jimmy, how about you stop playing games that were made for adults at the age of 8? Okay, bud? And hey, if you like these types of videos, please consider subscribing. A few weeks ago, I spoke about how Diablo 1 had unmatched atmosphere. Strangely enough, both of these games were released in the exact same year. But how the mansion is designed is an absolute masterclass in how to give players that constant atmospheric tension. How the music changes in each area. The peaceful but sort of haunting melody of the safe room. And even the lighting all work together to give you this sense of dread and horror. Each wall has descriptions of the paintings that are hung up, making you wonder who lived or who does still live here. Even the way we transition from room to room with that door animation, the slow reveal building tension for what we're about to face. I already touched on the puzzles a little, but I was very surprised with how many this game had. I loved the little hints you would find in books that explained how to get past certain areas. I only really needed help with this weird eagle puzzle. I was definitely overthinking it because who would have known you would just have to outrun it? I had to look up a guide, okay? Okay? But because the whole game is essentially just one big puzzle to work out, even something as simple as finding the right key for the door was satisfying to solve. The pacing of the story is done masterfully, and I'm not really a fan of games where you take in most of the information through reading books. But in Resident Evil, it's that exact method of storytelling that works so well. The mansion is void of all living life. The only real way of finding out what happened to all these poor souls is through little messages left by the people that used to live or work here. It's not being dumped on you in one big cutscene. You find notes and journals and fragments of people realizing something is going horribly wrong. Their thoughts becoming more erratic, their writing slowly deteriorating as the virus takes over.
Get away from me! No! Hey! No!
As you dig deeper, you discover the mansion wasn't just some creepy estate. It was a research facility for the Umbrella Corporation. Even as someone outside of the franchise, that name carries weight. You know it's just bad news. The characters we play as and all the supporting roles are all fairly basic. And Wesker might as well have had a big neon red sign on his head saying, "I'm the bad guy," because it was that obvious from the start.
Chris, you make me proud. But of course you are one of my men.
Thanks.
But even though the voice acting was average, I quite enjoyed how cringy the script was. It's just a sign of the times. Another thing that caught me off guard was how much replay value is built into the game. Choosing between Chris and Jill isn't just picking a character model, it actually decides how the story unfolds. Different supporting characters step into the spotlight, certain scenes play out differently, and even the tone of interaction shifts depending on who you choose. Barry has a much stronger presence in Jill's campaign, while Chris's journey feels more isolated, leaning on Rebecca instead. It gives the mansion a slightly different vibe each time, like you're seeing the same nightmare from a different angle. And for a game that is 3 decades old, that level of variation is absolutely impressive. And I'm glad to report that I successfully blew up the mansion, so I'm pretty confident in saying that that's the last of the virus that we'll ever see. The thing I was most worried about was the controls. I thought they would feel slow and clunky, and it turns out that's sort of the point. In The Evil Within and Dead Space, the characters feel heavy, like they're wearing boots that weigh 1,000 pounds. And now I finally understand where that design philosophy came from, and it wasn't the water temple from Ocarina of Time. Put a zombie in front of me and let me destroy it like I'm in Ninja Gaiden, and that won't give me a sense of urgency and threat. But face us against a zombie and make me control like I've got arthritis in 90% of my body, and that's fear. To make my experience feel more authentic, I decided to play with the tank controls, and let me tell you right now, this right here was rage-inducing for the first hour of gameplay. I honestly thought that my brain would never adjust to these controls, but hey, if little Brian did it at the age of 8 back in 1996, then I can do it too. Hello to Brian if you're watching. But once it clicked hard. Being slow is a part of what makes this game so intense. You shoot slow, you turn slower, and there is no graceful way to maneuver around multiple enemies at once. For a control scheme that is essentially just aim and shoot and move around a little bit, it's that exact simplicity that makes this game so great. Simple, brutal, effective. Yeah. Modern games are so obsessed with players being able to move at incredibly unrealistic speeds. Everyone's sliding around like they're in a Call of Duty montage. Why in the Tourette syndrome is this? Resident Evil is just you walking down tight corridors, bumping into the walls, and then hearing something in the distance. There is no dodge button, no quick time event where you can just simply shrug off an enemy. It's just pure, simple survival horror. And Resident Evil is actually, according to Wikipedia, where that term comes from, survival horror. And rightly so, because this game doesn't hold your hand in any way. Nowhere is that more obvious than the inventory. Managing items isn't just a feature, it's half the game. Everything is scarce. Ammo, health items, and even how many times you can save in a single playthrough is all extremely limited. The mansion is what like the toilet paper aisle looked back in 2020. If you were hoarding toilet paper back then, shame on you, you know who you were. I had to use a t-shirt one time. And there's nothing worse than in a game when you find a powerful weapon and you just hoard the bullets just in case you have to use it one day, and then you get to the end of the game without ever using that item. I'm looking at you, mini nukes from Fallout. But Resident Evil doesn't let you hoard. I was constantly changing from my pistol to my shotgun, back to my pistol, and then to a Magnum. I used whatever ammo was available to me, and I couldn't be picky. The sigh of relief I would let out whenever I found a new clip of ammo, knowing that I had enough to just survive a few more rooms. Little did I think that the lack of bullets would be the most intense part of the game. I didn't even play on a hard difficulty and I was still running out of bullets. And don't even get me started on the knife. I tried to kill an enemy with it and died instantly. It's useless. Someone please tell me how to use the knife. But ammo scarcity wouldn't matter if inventory space wasn't even tighter. Chris gets 6 slots, Jill gets 8. 6! In most games, we're used to having this massive inventory space where I can fit shotgun, bazooka, bloody flamethrower, Subway footlong sandwich, 6 med packs, you know, blow up doll for later. But in Resident Evil, it feels more realistic. And because Chris is limited to 6 spaces, it means that you would really only have one weapon on you at all times. A weapon, some ammo, a health item or two, and some free space if you were lucky. And that's it. Health items don't even stack. It's absolutely brutal, but completely necessary in order to put the survival part into survival horror. It's not really survival if you have unlimited items, but Resident Evil balances that perfectly. It forces you to constantly make decisions with what you're carrying, and that's what makes it survival. Now, you wouldn't need the ammo and health potions if it wasn't for the zombies scattered throughout the game. It's pretty clear within the first few minutes of the game that zombies are the main enemy. This haunting reveal here has probably caused many children to have nightmares over the years. But this scene is perhaps one of the most iconic in all of gaming. The enemies are very simple. Regular ass zombies, zombie dogs, weird battle-toad looking dudes, spiders. Are they zombie spiders? I don't know. But they can all be killed by simply shooting them. And the enemies aren't even really what's scary about this game. It's the fact that they can appear at any given time. A previously empty corridor can now be the home to the battle-toads or some vicious dogs. The windows that kept them at bay before finally giving out under the constant pressure. And because the camera angles are so tight, more than half the time you can't actually see what's coming. but you can hear them coming. Yeah, that's scary. The camera angles by today's standards would feel very wonky, and I played on a 4:3 aspect ratio for that more authentic feel. But the tight corridors paired with the awkward camera angles, as well as the eerie music and the constant feeling that an enemy might jump out from behind you, blends together to make what I honestly consider a near perfect game. I do think that Lisa Trevor is very underused. Nothing gives me the heebie-jeebies more than an enemy that can't be killed, and she's only in like 3 parts of the whole game. I mean, don't get me wrong, it makes me happy she was barely around, but I can only imagine how scary it would have been if she could randomly appear at any given time. This score of 91 out of 100 is completely justified. I was completely wrong thinking that this game wasn't something that I had to play because it wasn't in a genre that I don't typically enjoy. The story is super basic but told in such a mysterious way that obviously they were able to expand on it for the last 30 years. The gameplay is also basic but never dull. And for a game that was made 30 years ago, it somehow manages to get every aspect of it perfect. I knew that I would like this game, but I had no idea that I would end up loving it. Alright, my name is Mythic Vic. Thank you very much for watching. If you like retro games, new games, reviews, please subscribe. Until next time, see ya.